Hello everyone, I'm LA Little and this is your daily NeoTA wrap, where we take a look at these markets. We do it every day from a neoclassical perspective each time, asking ourselves just one question: what happened today and what does it tell us about the coming ones? We show 4 times a week, Monday through Thursday, broadcast at or before 10 o'clock Eastern Time, archived on YouTube. It's under channel LA Little. So you can subscribe there and get notification anytime content is pushed. Also do a show on Sunday evenings. If you want to tune into that one, we do a weekly show looking more at the longer term. Looking at these markets today, what happened? Well, the industrials got hit. It was a mixed market. NDX up, rest of them down. This push here, we had a huge push in security stocks today. We had a big push in biotechs with another takeover bid. That was what pretty much held up this divergence that you see. Gold up about 0.5%. The bond sold off about 0.5%. Oil down about 2%. Dollar also up slightly. It was a mixed bag today. And that mixed bag really shows up in these indexes. So if we pop over to take a look at those, what you see here is you see the S&Ps going up into resistance, back down below it, right? Volume a little bit heavier than it was yesterday, but still lighter than it was on this bar, also lighter than these bars back here. Just gets up to resistance, it just kind of dies. Now, if I wanted to be an optimist, I could look at this and say, okay, you got an A, B, C, D structure, right? And this potentially is going to break higher and go over these 2 swing point highs. It may happen, folks, but this market is moribund. I mean, it's dead. It's like the night of the living dead. I mean, every day it just grinds out a little small sideways move after the initial move, and then there's a little bit of movement at the end of the day, but in between, nothing happens. And it's all because there is no direction now. We're all driven by overseas, and all that's already taken place by the time we open. And as you saw when I started the show here, I had the German DAX up. We'll go to it here in a second. But, that's what's happening. I mean, this market can't move on its own. It's moving on the backs of other countries and other markets. NASDAQ was the strongest, 50.24, got up over it, back underneath it. Let's see what it did, 17.2, so it had a little bit more volume. And 5006, yeah, closed over it. So it's over the swing part, the breakdown bar, right? Again, if this doesn't come back within it immediately, then that says it's going to try to attack the high. And the high has volume on it, so it really should try to attack it at some point. That's 50.42, sitting at 50.14. You got a bunch of earnings starting to come out this week in the tech sector. That's going to be what drives this up or down in terms of the NASDAQ, the NDX itself. Looking at the NDX, a little bit weaker. And over here, the NDX, that breakdown bar is 44.42. We got over it once. We got over it again. Closed underneath it again. Less volume. Also looks like a failure one more time. But it's hanging there. It's hanging there each and every time. The Russell. Now the Russell was the one that broke out, got pulled back in. It tried to get over the breakdown bar today, 1265.85, gets over it, gets pulled back up underneath it. Has lighter volume, I believe. Yeah, slightly lighter volume again, so another failure. So index-wise, I don't see anything here telling us anything different than what we've seen before, and that this market really is kind of hung up on what to do next. And when we come back here, we'll take a look at what next probably holds. I'll be right back.
Learn how to trade with the Trade with LA service provided to you by TA Today. This service includes daily portfolio and comments that are emailed to you before the market opens each morning. We provide a daily view of the markets and a model portfolio you can follow even if you work another job. Every weekend, LA records his weekend broadcasts that gives you a synopsis of the week and a prognosis of coming weeks. You will also have access to our Teach and Trade room, where Ella provides day trades and teaches neoclassical concepts throughout the trading day. To get started, go to our homepage and click Trade with LA.
So as we come back here, one of the things I try to watch, and it's not always a great tell, but it's a pretty good tell, and that is the packaging stocks, right? Packaging, PKG is one of them I watch. Anything that gets, well, think about it. Amazon, these kinds of online stores now, so much gets shipped through these guys at this point, and that's driven a huge run in these particular stocks. For example, if I bring packaging over and show you the kind of run it had since 2012, it's gone from 25 to 80. That's the kind of move this stock has had, and it's trying to roll over now off of earnings. And that rollover off of earnings actually had volume here on the daily. Now, if the companies that produce the materials that allow things to be packaged and shipped around start to hurt, either their margins are getting squeezed or their business is being cut. And in this case, the business looks like it's being cut. That's what's happening here. You break multiple swing points on the dailies and on the weeklies, and you've got some decent volume going on the weekly. This is only Tuesday, right? And you're coming into 11 million doing 7. You're going to blow that away. You're going to come all the way back into this low, which is 62 bucks. Now 62 bucks, not the end of the world for this. Let me grab my charts again. But if you look on the monthly chart again, 62 bucks, this high is 75 and this high volume spike is 72. So 62 is going to be into that, and the bottom of that, that's a high volume bottom. So it looks to me like on a monthly basis, this is going to try to come all the way back to 57. So if the packaging stocks are not looking so hot, then what does that tell us? That's not a good thing, right? That's telling you, we've been talking over and over about the economic data slowing down. I've talked about that for at least half a year now. Still hasn't showed up in the market, but now you're starting to see some of the stocks that drive economic activity showing a hit. And so when I see something like that, it just kind of gets my antennas going and saying, hey, this is something we need to pay attention to. So I bring that up to show you again some of the role that's starting to take place. What's driving our markets, as we talked about before, is the overseas markets. We had the German DAX come off. Now they went over this high, right? Set a new high, get back underneath it. Now when they get back underneath it, the test is always, can you hold it? Well, they didn't. They broke down under it, they come back over it, go over it, they test into it, they get over this bar. This is the bar with volume. They get over that bar. They had lighter volume today, even though I don't have the volumes in yet. And that's going to push back down. It's going to try to test this low again. And so when I look at the DAX, right, the DAX is telling me that we are more than likely in a range trade. The CAX goes over that high, back under it, probably has less volume as well, saying exactly the same thing. Now the wild card is Hong Kong, because Hong Kong is like on a march to to higher ground, and that 28,000 number on the Hang Seng, you got back up there. The futures were up pretty big today, so I suspect it's going to open over it. The question is going to be, does it hold it? Does volume expand and does it hold? Does it get blowout type volume? And the same thing in the Shanghai market. Are you going to get blowout volume? Are you going to hold it? Are you going to get lighter volume? Are you going to fail? Those are the questions. If they fell, or when they fell, they will fail at some point. That's going to set up a range trade as well. And folks, if you're getting range trades overseas, I can guarantee you domestic markets, unless something changes here dramatically, domestic markets are going to feel it. And when I say they're going to feel it, if we look at the S&P 500, right, the S&P 500 is stuck in a range while the rest of the world is crying higher. You know, it's just crawling, not crawling, it's screaming higher. If the rest of the world screams higher and all we can do is go sideways, and I don't see any catalyst to take us higher, where do you think we're going to go when they start to take a break? That's it for tonight. That is tonight's show. Thanks for joining me. I'm trying to keep it to 10-15 minutes, so hopefully that works better for you. Let me know. I'll let it go at that. Take care. Good night.